Hello friends, and welcome to a very wet homestead. We've had a lot of rain here in North Carolina, and today we have to tackle a project that is not ideal in wet weather, but we figure out is not raining right now and we need to do it. So we're going to go ahead and do it. So stick around. We're going to show you today how to build a deck, a simple desk. And the only difference is this will be a floating desk, which means that it's not going to be attached to our building. The deck will be for our shop here. And all the steps we'll show you will apply in every deck, but this will be fairly low. It will not be a very high deck. And again, it's not going to be attached to our building. It will be a floating desk.
I want to see a floating desk.
I do.
But in any case, the biggest difference here that in the construction is that we're not going to dig holes to put posts in. We're going to put the posts directly on concrete pavers. And this is okay in virtually everywhere I have lived in. I don't know the codes in every state, but for a floating desk that is not for a floating deck that is not very high, and ours will not be very high, right? It is totally acceptable to do it that way. All right. If it is tall, or if it is attached to a building, it has to be also to the ground, in the ground, right below the frost line. Mm-hmm. Not worried about that in this specific instance. So let's go and show you our fun material.
So, you know, our backyard has no turf and we get a lot of rain. So this is kind of what we're up against every week. And so we thought that having a little workspace even outside the shop, as well as kind of a landing point that would keep us up out of the water, would be a great idea. So that's kind of what we're after today.
All right. And we have had this wood for some time now, right?
Yeah, we picked it up when we had a way to transport it from the store. But it's nice and dry for us. Not for long, but for now it's nice and dry.
Through the magic of turf. Right? Mm-hmm. All right. So one step we're going to have to do, but you won't have to do, is remove those stairs that we built almost a year ago. And I'm going to put a card up top on the corner to show you how we did that in case you want to see it. But since we're going to put the deck and we want the deck to be reasonably close to this, right? So we're going to have to remove our steps, and we're going to do that as the first thing we're going to do. Okay? So we're going to get started with that. So we start by removing the screws, which is easier than removing the nails, which is what we have to do next. And we're running out of battery on this. Well, let's see if it's going to do it.
Yes.
I'm determined to get all the power out of the little, what you call it?
Black & Decker.
Deck and Black. Man, that's some heavy screws, you know?
We builded it good.
We built it. Who might use those? All right.
Put it on top of the logs.
That's where I was going.
Awesome.
All right.
Now what?
On top of that.
Oh yeah, that came out pretty easy.
Don't jinx us.
Why can't you just go, hey, that's a good energy. They're all going to come out easy instead of just fucking with me.
I haven't fasted you. All right, you do the other two.
You got the right clue right
You have the right tool in your hands.
Come on.
What?
Keep going. You're almost there.
Yeah,
I need a hammer.
I need a hammer. I happen to have a hammer right here, just for you. Woo, but don't take my glove.
It's putting up a little fight. But we are the masters of wood.
Right.
This is the most difficult for some reason.
Yeah, but you got it. See? All right. Let's try
And
it.
here we actually have a demonstration. You notice how the screws came out. I'll use the word easier, with more work for us. But screws have a lot of shear strength, but not a lot of tensile strength, right? We couldn't have removed the screws that way. The nails is what I meant. I said screws, but
You did say screws, so I was wondering where you were going with that.
the
But
nails have a lot of shear strength, so we put them when we had needed them to be that way, right?
yep.
But screws have more tensile strength to keep them. So you notice we had screws on the top, and that hadn't moved since we
Nails on the top.
No, on the top we had
Screws on the step.
right
Yeah.
on the top.
Yeah.
But on the side, on the building, we had nails. So different ways of removing them.
Okay.
Okay, what?
Next, what are we doing next?
Next, we need to bring
The blocks?
the blocks.
Neat.
Do we need to clear out here?
Okay, so we're going to start cutting our posts. We're not very high, and we could even get away without putting a post, but because we don't know exactly where the deck will fall, we actually need to make posts, right?
Yep.
So we're going to turn the saw
Actually, you're going to need some power for that saw
on. That is true.
because the cord is still wrapped. I can see.
You mean a power saw doesn't work without power?
Well, you know, our next saw will be probably
Powerless
no
saws?
battery operated.
Oh, battery operated saws. I like it.
Well, they exist. They're just 3 times more expensive.
I don't know. We were drooling over the one in Harbor Freight, so.
Well, there you are. Now you're all powered up, huh? Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
So if it's closer, we have to turn it now.
Right.
We can't rotate it twice, but it is.
I know.
So we're going to put it down again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like an inch.
Yep.
Our next saw has to be a 12-inch
Right.
blade.
So again, tell any viewers who haven't seen your other post on how you cut these posts why we're doing it this way.
Because we're lazy and it's the easiest way.
It's the easiest way. It's
And
most
safest
secure. Yeah.
Okay, we need to.
When
let's
you
turn it
don't
over
have a big saw capable of doing this.
Okay, we need to move a little.
And you don't have the play when you're sliding the piece that's this
Right.
long across the table.
There,
Right.
let's see. Not too sappy.
Pretty clean cut.
Yep, looks good.
So this is post number 1.
Yep.
Do we need to cut the post number 2? We're not going to show you every cut post, but you know.
Yes. Okay.
And remove the labels. I tried to remember to do it before we start, but I didn't this time. Because usually they have a staple, right?
And a tag, yeah, something.
All right, we'll cut the remaining posts and we'll be right with you. So we've done the initial prep steps. We've put the 3 of our blocks, which is a little bit of overkill for an 8x8 deck. 2 will be sufficient, right?
Yeah.
And we've put the 3 blocks there, and that's where we're going to have our posts, right? Again, if we were to do it into a building as attached, this piece that we've laid here on the ground would be our ledger board, and it would be attached to the building, right?
Right.
Because we're not doing that, we have to be behind it to attach it to the post. So we developed this little jiggy. So we can do it and then put it there and we can continue our build, right? Does it make sense what I'm
Yep,
talking
it's
about?
laying down and we're going to stand it up over against the building when we're
If
done.
you do it in an attached way, you don't have to do that because this board actually connects to the building, right?
Right, right.
We wanted a floating deck, and a floating deck we're getting.
Yay!
And do you want to show how you've got this piece here so that we know what our placement is?
Yeah, so we know we're going to have a board of just the same as the one that's laying there on top. That's the same width, that's going to butt up against it, and we want it to be even at the end. So we've used a scrap piece that's the same dimension, thickness-wise, to make sure that we're square and we're not going to either be over or under.
Right.
And we've done that on both ends. So what instrument are we using to connect these?
An instrument?
Yeah.
It would be a viola. We're thinking to use a mandolin.
I
but
think a harmonica works better.
no. We are going to air nail those pieces.
Okay. Using a tool that you have used before on camera.
Yes,
The one that shoots flying pieces of
he
debris.
does know.
Yes, it does.
It creates quite a cacophony.
And why we do that? Because when we attach that, what we're looking is I always forget when I want to talk about it. Not shear strength. Yeah, we need shear strength. If we need tensile strength, we'll use screws, right? So if I see as the deck edges, not the desk, the deck edges. If I see it falling apart, then I will use some screws, because then we'll have that strength, right?
Yeah.
But for right now, we don't need that strength, so we're going to go just with nails.
Yep. So I think we're ready to get started with the first piece.
Okay.
And here is the wonderful sound of the air compressor. Okay.
Why will not work?
I don't know. Woo!
Okay.
That was abrupt.
So we need to do the same on the other side.
Uh-huh.
Yep. I've already measured it. That's good.
You're comfortable with it.
Yep.
And there was the debris that doesn't come off there going flying.
Okay, so we need the middle one now.
All right, that has to be measured in place though, right? So
Mud is everywhere.
mud is everywhere, and here we are putting that first. Oh, that cord can't go there.
What's the cord?
Both of them. There we go. Ooh.
We might have to. Okay, that will be good.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and make sure this is placed correctly, and then we'll
So
continue.
we are setting up for our first side, and we're going to do the sides exactly the same, right? Like we're doing it now. So we use clamps on both posts to temporarily hold the piece up, right? And then we use our longest level to make sure that we're level. Yes?
Yep.
So then now we're going to have our dimension to know what to cut our piece at, right? And we're going to do the same on the other side, and then the front will be a much more straightforward process than this.
Right.
All right? Did I explain it correctly or not? All right, so the clamps are just there for temporary support. They don't do anything else. All right.
The clamps hold the board in place so that we can complete our measurement and find out what the exact dimension of this height is going to be
While
for our
we're
support.
level. Otherwise,
Right.
the difficulty is the level part, right?
Right.
All right, so we'll be right
So it's getting more exciting now because we have the frame in place. We did make sure that each side is level, and we've positioned the blocks directly in the middle of where the posts sit so that we know we've got a good firm structure. And we've got one last post to cut to finish out the base here, the frame. And so that's what we're working on now, is cutting the one last piece. And we're using it the same method we used on the very first one to cut it by raising the table saw blade.
Sorry.
Making sure that we're lined up on the line that we selected as our cut mark. It's really important that you make sure that your hands are out of the way when you're using this method, as well as you turn the saw off and that you have your piece of wood directly in the middle of the blade when you start. Okay.
And this was our last post. We're going to put some support beams now, and then we're going to put the decking.
Okay. Yep.
So what did it look so far? Looks fantastic, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks
Like a
good.
really neat pig pen. Like all we need is
Well,
pig
you know,
and they would be.
if this was warmer weather, we could really have some
fun.
mud fighting or something, you know.
It is not this kind of channel.
We didn't have to film it.
So we're going to use our palm nailer for the hangers, which is one of the best ways to do this. Wouldn't you agree, Peter? Mm-hmm. You don't have to use the hammer, and it is...
6 seconds. It definitely saves your arm.
Now, of course, you can do this using a hammer, but since we had an air nailer and a hand nailer, why not use it, right?
Mm-hmm. And the hangers are made with a little spot exactly for those nails to go in. Okay. Achoo! Achoo!
You recording?
Yep. Nails that the nail gun didn't drive all the way in, so we're using the palm nailer to finish the job. And on
Again,
the
you can do that with a hammer, right?
on the
The
side
palm nailer
too.
is probably one of the most underrated tools in the shop.
Okay.
Does that one look okay?
Yeah, looks good.
So here we are. This is our final dry fit. The boards are not attached yet, right? Mm-hmm. And we discover we are about a board short, which is weird because usually buy about 20 to 30% more material. Is that so, Peter?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how I miscalculated this, but clearly I did. But you can see now the idea and how it changes the look of the shop, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to use screws to attach them. Screws here are better than nails because again, they provide the strength we need as the boards will try to cap and move away from the base, right?
Right, as they dry, and that's something that the pressure-treated wood will do.
Actually, all would do, but
Yeah, but this in
pressure-treated
particular,
yeah.
I've actually seen a deck like twist itself all up into crazy shapes because of the way it was trying to dry.
But anyway, the industry standard is that you put about the nail width difference between boards. Some of our boards, and it is clear here, they have a bow in the middle. So we're going to use our clamp. We're going to attach it to one side on both sides, and then use the clamp to make it more straight. And then screw them, and that will make it look great. So, but overall, what do you think, Elpida?
I think it's nice, and it's definitely going to give us some more workable, usable space that we're not in the mud mess that we frequently have here.
Which I partially created. You want to show them that what we took out of the mud back there on the...
Yeah, so we had these OSB boards that were laying down, which initially seemed like a really good idea because it gave us a nice little path to walk up to the door, but they were holding a lot of water, and then it created kind of a little lake over here in front of the door, so it actually became very detrimental. We were tracking a lot of mud in, so hopefully now with those boards gone, a lot of this is going to dry out. Also assuming it doesn't rain for 3 more days on end.
Well, it will still dry out. Because
it'll dry out better, but I mean there's still going to be some water there because I mean even here it's been raining and we've got some water. So
in any case, we're almost in the home stretch of the build. This is our third deck we built, right?
yeah,
We built one for Elpida and I built one in my previous house. So we're becoming really good at deck building, aren't we?
yeah.
In fact, the one for Elpida was pretty elaborate in her old house.
It was because I got picky and I wanted the boards to be in 2 different directions.
And also it was very large because it was the whole width of your house.
Yeah, it was 8 feet deep by like 20 feet long. So it
This
was
is
a
an
pretty
8
big
by
one.
8 intentionally, so we minimize the cut and the cost.
Right.
So if you plan it correctly, an 8 by 8 deck, and one of the neat things about having it as a freestanding, you can go like there in the middle of our property and make a deck. That will be a dry place that you can go and put chairs and enjoy, right?
Right.
So there are many advantages on a
A freestanding.
deck.
Okay.
If you attach a deck to a building, there are codes that you have to follow. Codes that relate to how much load you put on the building and how you attach it with ledger boards.
It increases the complexity quite a bit.
And if it is more than a foot up,
Rails.
technically ours is not actually. I don't think we're a foot up. Because the most we cut was 9 inches.
Yeah, but then we've also got the 3-inch deep.
Right, but I don't think it's a foot.
Yeah.
Technically, if it is more than a foot up, you have to calculate loads. And the reason for that is if something collapses on this deck, we'll just get embarrassed, right? I mean, but no one will die.
Right.
But if you're like 5 or 6 feet up in there and the deck collapses, you can potentially get killed.
And you definitely want to think about how high up you are because if you don't have rails and you fall off that.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Actually, the code requires rails. You see, even in that deck that is not very high, there are rails.
Right.
In fact, I think it's the same. It's a foot. If it is more than a foot above the ground, the rails are required.
Okay.
But in any case, that is the legalistic, what do you want to say, the lawyeristic part. I really like it. Actually, I like it a little too much. I don't want to step on it. So we're going to get moving, and we're going to be with you. So the traditional process is that you put 2 screws per board. You can put one, it will prevent the board with 2 screws from capping, right? But you can get away with one if you so choose. But keep in mind these boards will actually shrink, so you don't have to be too picky about them. You want a little bit of space so the water drains through them. But also this board, for example, is capped.
Yeah.
And we could take some time to adjust for that, but it's not critical. So we won't.
Cupped or warped, or what's the correct term?
The
Since
correct term is capped. The warping is,
more of a side to side,
yeah, capped is when you have a,
a curve in it.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I'm gonna have to go back and forth.
Yeah. So we'll keep working on that. Obviously got quite a few boards to attach,
You can leave a little more
and then we'll come back to show you what the
space.
finished
That is a
project
very
looks
big
like.
gap. Well, friends, and this is our finished deck. And we have a couple of details to attend to, but we are pretty much done, right?
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, it came out the way we thought about it, and it's the right size, I think, for the building.
Yeah, we wouldn't have wanted it any bigger.
A couple of things, again, this is our third deck build, and a couple of things, if you wanted it beefier, you could use 2 buys instead of 1 buy for the decking.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the decks I see, they are 1 buys, you know. They're not 2 buys. You could use the other posts. Remember the ones that I don't know what they're
The
called.
concrete piers.
Yeah, the concrete piers. For our purposes, this was a better choice, using the pavers. It is, how long it took us to build it? Excluding the trip to the store.
Maybe
Oh,
3 hours.
yeah.
So it is an easy, can we call it an easy afternoon project?
Yeah.
You can definitely do it in a day, for sure.
And that was expedited by the fact that we did not have to cut any of the regular boards, only the posts.
Right?
Well, and that was part of our design, right?
Right.
I mean, we wanted to minimize cuts and maximize the wood we had. And of course, we were a board sort, so we had to stop for about an hour to go to the salt store and pick up the board and come back. So
Yep.
it's an easy afternoon project, something like that.
And it's way better if you don't have to battle the mud.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah.
I look like I
caused
took a
that-
bath in the mud today.
I caused that with the OSB. I mean, the OSB acted as a sponge and kept all the water around. So it should dry now. If it stopped raining in North Carolina, that is the criterion, right? It has to stop
Right.
raining. Then it will dry and we're going to be in better shape. And we'll probably need, because it's high enough, we'll probably need at least 1 step.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll do that very similar as we did in the other building, using concrete blocks and this probably.
Mm-hmm.
For stair. But in any case, this is our project. We hope you did enjoy it, and if you did, we would appreciate a thumbs up. If you didn't, the other button works as well. Share, like, subscribe, and let us know what else you would like to see in future episodes. From Dr. Wizard, Mrs. Wizard, Elpida, and the Urban Homesteading Channel. Stay safe, wear your masks, wash your hands, and we're going to see you soon with a fun project midweek. Farewell, friends.